Jai Guruji Auntie, welcome.
Jai Guruji, Shilpi, thank you. Jai Guruji, Sangatji, Jai Guruji, everyone. Lovely to be back. So we spoke about home. The last sentence was, home is an emotional refuge where we can bare our soul and still feel safe. It shields us and enables us to heal. Home is Guruji. So chapter 15 we're on now. And as I said, we're halfway there already, because it's a very readable and short, concise book, concise and clear, I hope. So 15 is social media. Today's culture and climate leans on distractions. The volume is turning up on filters and fake news, and that becomes our reality. In this context, spending excess time on social media, such as Facebook and Instagram, can potentially exhaust our precious time and take us away from being in the moment, being with Guruji. Once we log in, we consume at least an hour without even realizing it. Getting the best of social media and not letting it get the best of us is so vital. Making a commitment to ourselves to reduce the screen time and substitute it with sitting in silence away from our mobiles enables us to get into a state of calmness versus mental chaos and restlessness caused by social media. And this is a known fact that social media causes resentment, it distracts us, it occupies our mind with a lot of fakeness. So we need to discipline ourselves to plug in or log in to the real and to log out and unplug from the unreal. Generally, when we don't feel complete offline, we go online. Our despair becomes our doorway to walk into our truth only if we permit ourselves time out. Hence, given the right perspective, our despair or despondency can set us free if used in the productive manner. Perspective is the key to how we fare in life. Two men look at the prison bars, and one sees mud and the other stars outside, outside the window, though there are no windows. The path to happiness begins and ends in the mind. Therefore, it is of paramount importance to free the mind, and destiny will follow. So when alone, we can do jap, connect through the Gurbani, or simply practice meditating. Sitting in silence for 1 hour daily brings tremendous health and spiritual benefits. Engaging in a creative activity also connects us to ourselves. It opens our hearts and doors to our mind, and it allows recognition of uniqueness and self-identity, whether it's art, music, whether it's going for a walk, with listening to an interesting podcast. We are learning. We must keep learning, keeping an open mind to learn and absorb knowledge and new ways of living. It awakens in us what lies dormant already. Hence, hidden talents emerge, making us feel good. Dopamine, a neurotransmitter linked to creativity and motivation, is released, making us feel good. Additionally, leaning on natural surroundings, soaking in glistening leaves on trees, and walking serenely profoundly improve the quality of thoughts. Just before I came and sat down, I actually went for a walk in the garden in my brother's home in Manchester. And I just feel uplifted when I'm amidst nature, trees, the grass below me, the azure blue skies above me, clear skies, and it just elevates you. So being out in nature as much as you can improves the quality of our thoughts and our physical being. Movement and mobility is the key to feeling inspired and instinctive. Nature whispers many messages when we stop, switch off, and listen with all our being in hushed calmness. We need to cease wasting time on the filter on social media and aspire to invest time on getting fitter mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. It is in the end balance that is key to harmony and happiness. Social media was meant to be a force for good. The idea was to spread positivity and love in the world through the like button, and not for us to feel depressed at the lack of them. It was originally created for incredible things like connecting families, reconnecting friends, and like minded people. It was also for people interested in various topics like travel, fashion, entertainment, and other visually oriented themes. However, there was always a flip side of the coin. It can be counterproductive and also detrimental to our mental health, as comparing our lives to others can diminish our own self worth. So, children, for instance, teenagers who are impressionable and gullible, they compare their lives to other people's lives on social media and they feel less, they feel belittled, they feel depressed. And Guruji said, कि आगे जाके mental illnesses, depression, बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ जाना है. So this is one of the causes. When we compare our lives, we must embrace our uniqueness and stop, um, raising our bar just because we need to keep up with the Joneses. We are what we are. We must celebrate our uniqueness. We curate our lives around this perceived sense of perfection because there are instant rewards such as hearts, thumbs up, and we conflate that with value and truth. All these emojis are nothing but fake. It's not actually truth, but false prickle popularity that leave us feeling fragile and vacant, more vacant than before. We have all fallen prey to these comparisons, but we must learn to celebrate our uniqueness. And we must unlearn now what we have learned. The point is, how do we wake up from the matrix when we don't even know that we're in the matrix? It's plain as day that the young, much younger generation are setting unrealistic standards of beauty and achievement due to comparisons made on social media. Their entire diet is Facebook and Instagram. The ugly fact is that fake news on Twitter spreads 6 times faster than real news. Technology's downside is a threat to mankind as it has the power to bring out the worst in society. The young are more anxious, fragile, and prone to depression, loneliness, and alienation. I mean, these are all facts. These are all based on statistics. The very fabric of morality is being torn as we are more distracted than ever and have the inability to focus on the real issues. We as a society are devolving into chaos. Guruji wanted us to evolve, but we are not evolving. We're devolving as a society. We have inadvertently adapted to the way in which the world of illusion seduces and manipulates us. However, change is at our fingertip, literally. We need to control our own narrative and delete anything that is not adding value to our individual progress. So we must watch and understand what is adding value and what is not. So we can, at the press of a button, we can change that. We can switch over to something more meaningful. Since we are all individuals living our own unique narrative, it becomes increasingly important to enhance our own story and not concern ourselves with others' journey. We cannot pretend to be anything other than who we are. Falsehood only leads to further burial of our truth. Transparency and sincerity and owning up to our flaws helps us to heal our wounds faster. Confronting our fears, our pain, and our anxieties is absolutely imperative if we are to progress on the spiritual journey. Sitting in silence, feeling and sending it love and compassion heals the pain. Sweeping issues under the carpet denies us of resolving deep-seated emotions that drive our choices in life. Conversely, sitting with our issues, glaring at them with the force of faith, enables them to eventually evaporate. We must do part, as Guruji used to say, part karo, and let him play his part. He will play his part, but we must do part. Because, like he said, तुसी अपना काम करो और रब नु अपना काम करन दो. But काम तो करो, हिलो, in the right direction. At times we'll wish to run away from one thing or another, or even from ourselves. And that is when we turn to different diversions. We are hardwired to criticize ourselves. We all do it, especially women. We are hardwired to criticize ourselves. But when we are gentle on ourselves, forgiving ourselves for all our blunders, minor or colossal, and begin being compassionate towards ourselves, we have more ammunition to fight our battles. Remaining calm, composed, and compassionate to ourselves is really, truly the key to feeling empowered also. This empowers us. What disempowers us? When somebody takes away our dignity, when somebody takes away our time, and we are restlessly just people pleasing, going on the treadmill of life, then we lose our own power. And that power we need to reclaim so that we can use that power for a better force. And the better force is, of course, Guruji and his hukam, so that collectively we can shift the consciousness of the universe. We have all made errors of judgment, but being self compassionate is imperative to our mental health. It makes us kinder and more patient towards others too, and allows us to draw the boundaries which are absolutely essential. Drawing boundaries from other people, drawing boundaries for us. When we say no to others, we are saying yes to ourselves. We are confident to compliment others and ourselves. Genuinely, everyone is fighting his or her battles. Nanak dukhiya sab sansar, Guruji used to say. No one's journey is smooth or seamless, and everyone stumbles with setbacks. So, drawing a smile on people's face with a kind word is also service to humankind. I learned a long time ago from Louise Hay that saying I love to as opposed to self abhorrence. The glow of confidence radiating from within is achieved from knowing that within lies an immense power of love and faith that makes all things possible. However, we must be mindful that our confidence never turns into conceit, as it is only when we wear faith with dignity and humility that we come nearest to the greatest source of all that is, Guruji. Then there is nothing that life can throw at us that we cannot catch on having the armor of faith on us. Faith, trust, surrender are three words which we must embrace and internalize and then implement it on our lives in every aspect of our lives. And gaining respect from the people around us, which are normally either our spouse or in-laws or people who generally find it difficult to render respect, we earn it by respecting ourselves and creating those boundaries, and then they will respect us. Unmasking myself and sharing my story has often given permission to others, particularly to women with similar life experiences, to share theirs, or at least find the prospect of hope in it and to live their life with unbridled joy, knowing that Guruji has his all embracing hand on them, on each one of them. Vulnerability makes us real and relatable and renders courage to others also to be authentic. A bird sitting on a tree is never afraid of the branch breaking because her trust is not on the branch, but on her own wings. Hence, always believe in our own wings. In the context of faith, we need to reinforce our connection with the divine. By doing so, we do not resort to the digital pacifier that we do when we are alone or lonely. With time, this pacifier atrophies our own ability to deal with the emptiness within and the feeling that if I'm not doing enough, then I'm not enough. The choice to engage in fleeting or lasting activities is ours. Every setback in life can be seen as an opportunity for growth. It is not always our first choice to imbibe Guruji's Gurbani when we are low or lonely, but on doing so, it certainly raises our vibration. So the choices are ours. जब हम थोड़े सैड होते हैं, लो वाइब्रेशन में चल रहे होते हैं, and we know it. कभी कभी हेडेक हो रहा होता है, ओ वी फीलिंग लिस्टलेस, वी फीलिंग लेथार्जिक, तो हम क्या करते हैं, डिजिटल पैसिफायर फिर पकड़ लेते हैं, एंड हाफ एन आवर, 1 आवर गोज बाय, पता ही नहीं चलता, रील्स को देखते रहते हैं. बट इंस्टेड इफ वी आर कॉन्शियस एंड वी आर अवेक, देन हम कहते हैं नहीं, हम दिया जलाते हैं और हम गुरु जी के पास बैठते हैं आधा घंटा, एंड दैट has a more positive effect on us, much more. Everything will rust and fade away, but our prayer is like dropping a deposit into the bank of eternity. Even the mantra jap is so potent. Listening to it for a mere 5 minutes also shifts our energy. Guruji said, mantra jap kitta karo. Guruji used to reiterate the importance of establishing our own direct connection with him, and each one of us has their own equation. We can only connect on the level that we are at, and he pulls us towards his light no matter where we stand. So it doesn't mean the prerequisite to connecting and evolving with Guruji is just to be open. That's all. That's the only prerequisite you need, the only qualification and the only education. Okay, just that having the ability to be open to receive. So can they say, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਘੜਾ ਖਾਲੀ ਕਰ ਦਿਓ, फिर मेरे को लांदे हो, ते मैं ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਘੜਾ भरना, दोबारा भरना, और किस चीज ना भरना, अपनी blessings ना. Then his meher is again greater than my meher. So हम जब मांगते नहीं है, तो वो वैसे उनकी उनकी मेहर होती है और वो देते रहते हैं, अपनी मर्जी देते हैं गुरुजी. सो ट्रस्ट इन इज, वो क्या देंगे वो भी गुरुजी पे ट्रस्ट करना है कि हमारे भलाई के लिए देंगे जो देंगे, और जो नहीं देंगे वो भी हमारी भलाई के लिए है. बिकॉज इन द लार्जेस्ट स्कीम ऑफ थिंग्स वो शायद हमारे लिए अच्छा नहीं था, इसलिए गुरुजी ने नहीं दिया. सो एक तो हिज डिलेज आर नॉट हिज डिनायल्स, एंड जब डिनाई करते हैं तो हमारे लिए अच्छा ही नहीं था वो. सो उसका भी शुक्राना कीजिए. So we can only connect on the level that we are at, and he pulls us towards his light no matter where we stand. He's so gracious that he never condemns us and continues loving us with a non-judgmental attitude with all our imperfections. Drop is when we heal. He has simplified connecting with the divine. No rituals, no superstitions, and most definitely no ego. Tode वहम और अहम दूर करना आया. Once I said, गुरुजी मैं फास्ट रखती हूँ मंडेज को, भूखे रहना थोड़ी ना रब मिलता है, सिर्फ चंगा इंसान बनो, एंड भूखियानो खाना खिलाओ, अनदान करो. The ego is the greatest and densest barrier to reaching and realizing the divine. Similarly, it blocks the path to loving, caring, and equitable relationships. It is our conduct that characterizes our personality. Be God loving and most certainly not God fearing. In the most practical sense, walk the earth's plane praising God, serving his people, and overflowing with gratitude for the wealth of blessings that have enriched us in unquantifiable measure. I always say that ek sangat jo Guruji se judi hui hai, we are billionaires because we have a wealth of blessings flowing into our lives. It's far greater than any material wealth. Our spiritual wealth is abundant and overflowing in our lives. Happiness is definitely not defined by having it all, but being eternally and emotionally grateful for all that we have. So that is the end of chapter 15, and I will go on to the next one. 16, Sonakshi's healing. He is a source of strength and wisdom. Had I not been under Guruji's umbrella, I would have most definitely broken down irretrievably on seeing Sonakshi in that state that very morning. I have drawn strength from Guruji during a difficult time, knowing that he enables me to stay on course. My need for his grace has indeed been constant. From minor issues to all that seems major, I turn to him. That said, my dependency on him is not my weakness, but my strength. I have this conviction that what he decides for my daughters and I knows bounds. The all-pervading faith is actually an expression of our profound love and abiding adoration for Guruji. Without him, my world would be enshrouded in darkness. Because he's the one that keeps me upright and bright, no matter what the climate. The day I returned to Delhi on a medical visa, I visited Guruji's mandir. My daughters were in Hyderabad with their father seeking a final opinion regarding Sonakshi's eye surgery. As I left the mandir, Anishka rang and confirmed that surgery can wait, as it is particularly delicate and potentially the wound can heal on its own. I knew this was Guruji's way of saying, I got this. He said to believe in his timing and in his plans. Aya karo, or hukam manno, or surrender kar jao. Therefore, patience and perseverance is a virtue that must be exercised. Sometimes it's difficult to even take that first step, particularly since we cannot see the entire staircase, but then that is faith, beyond any logic and rationale. Beyond faith is a bigger and more challenging word, surrender. Surrender to his will and his plans calls for tremendous tenacity. Sabr karo aur shukr karo. Fikr na karo aur mera zikr karo. जिन्ना रब नू याद करोगे उन्ना कल्याण होवेगा. Exercise patience, be grateful, do not worry, and keep remembering me. Sonakshi and I, we again paid a visit to Dr. Sudipto Pakrasi for further reassurance, who many moons ago had performed surgery to remove the cataract in both my eyes too. My respect and confidence in him knows no bounds, and I needed his final verdict. He too confirmed that no surgery was necessary at this point, as the vision would be restored in the passage of time, and the fracture on her cheekbones and nose would also heal. As anticipated, he lightened my load as we left his clinic. I knew Guruji was no doubt healing her, and no matter how agonizing it was for me as a mother to see her in this state, I said a silent prayer in my heart to keep me strong. At first, Sonakshi had a double vision, and having chai and samosa prasad was not a walk in the park. One afternoon, after weeks, as we sat in Guruji's mandir, I had my eyes closed, soaking in the mellifluous shabads. Sonakshi was sitting opposite me, and as the prasad was served, I opened my eyes and noticed her comfortably consuming her samosa prasad and drinking her chai prasad without spilling even a drop. Her double vision had disappeared. I was teary-eyed and deeply moved by this. Tears of gratitude welled up in my eyes. The thought that he had healed her was like a warm evening breeze. His ways are truly inexplicable. And what is more wondrous is that he has this imperishable interest in each one of us. He takes care and looks out for each one of us individually. Therefore, he said, direct connection banao. अपना सोल टू सोल, कोई मीडिएटर्स नहीं है. हम अपना खड़े होकर सत्संग सुनाते हैं. मैं सत्संग सुना रही हूँ through the book, but I am not a mediator. Nobody is. आपका soul to soul connection है. His love encompasses each one of us, making us feel specially special. We, the devotee, can only connect through emotion, feeling his love flow through our hearts and our souls. When our hearts meet, the mind becomes stable and unswerving and finally silent. He removes the darkness of distress whilst mitigating all adversities. In fact, there isn't a pocket of darkness that the light of God will not enter. True triumph is overcoming our fears and turning them into faith. True strength is admitting and confessing our weaknesses to him and praying to him to enable us to overcome them. Guruji made us. He's within us and for all of us. and will do the best for each one of us. And that is a trust we must have in him. He enables us to find the love of God, the acceptance of God, and the oneness of God that eventually encompasses the oneness of humanity. When on this journey, it seems at times things get worse before they get better. And sometimes we need to see through the dark to reach the pure light of God's absolute acceptance. He is a presence in our foreseeable and unforeseeable future. But we must be patient, as in the realm of faith, there is no cutting corners. We must remain on the path and pray, and patience does not mean standing still waiting for something to change. Patience is lovingly guiding your inner self who does not understand into a greater understanding that Guruji speaks to us in all things. So in all things respond as if we are responding to him. Sab Gobind hai. His soul is light. Continued diving into the Shipran on a daily basis, even though till date it is foreign to my mind. It is literally Greek to me. But I continue reading it as Guruji has said, Ik din samajh aauga. So, and I also continue reciting the mantra jap in my heart at is the panacea for all worldly ills. I attended satsangs primarily in my neighbor downstairs Varsha's Darbar that is permanently lodged in her home. I drew tremendous comfort and consolation from sitting in his aura on a daily basis. Deep-seated issues are resolved on bearing our soul before him. He said, Ram ko khilona mat samjho. Be genuine, at least with Guruji, be genuine. Bear your soul in front of him. Do not befool God, he said in his Punjabi. We can fool the world with our facade, but not God, because he is our creator and he knows our every molecule, every cell, every tissue. He removes our need to keep up appearances and to be authentic. The longing to be appreciated by the world dissipates, and the yearning for his approval takes center stage. We do not owe explanations or present justifications to others, but we must be transparent with him at all cost. I, for one, time and again have been candid with him about my inadequacies, my insecurities, and have in earnest asked for his forgiveness, as well as his grace to resolve certain character flaws in me. Without effort, you get nothing. Self-faith and faith in the universe is what makes the needle truly move. The timeless belief in the Almighty is what endures, and the rest is perishable. He said in his parlance, Sab kuch ਇੱਥੇ ਰਹਿ ਜਾਣਾ ਹੈ, Anita. सिर्फ एक नाम ਦੀ ਕਮਾਈ ਨਾਲ ਜਾਣੀ ਹੈ, ਅਸਲੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਮੰਗ ਲਓ, ਰੱਬ ਨੂੰ ਪਿਆਰ ਕਰੋ. We will all leave everything behind and take only his name, his love. The past, present, and future are all taken care of by his magnificence. Destiny supports you when your intentions are clear, and we never lose sight of him who drives our lives. Guruji said, मैं थोड़े भाव देखना. ऐसा करके आज भी बहुत कुछ हो रहा है. You know, अभी मैं गई थी किसी सत्संग में इंग्लैंड में और उन्होंने आरती नहीं बजाई मंत्र जाप के बाद. चलो सही है. और इस किसी ने 1 घंटा सिर्फ शब्द किया और उसके बाद आरती की, तो वो भी सही है. गुरुजी भाव देखते हैं. एज लॉन्ग एज हम दिखावा नहीं कोई कर रहे सत्संग में, ज्यादा मतलब एक चीज है जो गुरुजी इतना नहीं इम्प्रेस होते थे. भगवान को क्या इम्प्रेस करना, कि बड़ी बड़ी जब हम करते हैं डेकोर, लाखों खर्च लेते हैं, 10 लाख 12 लाख 15 लाख एक सत्संग के लिए, तो इससे अच्छा हम गरीब को पैसा, मतलब गरीब लोगों को क्यों ना खाना खिलाएं, एक भंडार रख लें, लंगर प्रसाद खिलाएं लोगों को, उससे बेटर वही है. एंड सिंपल डेकोर करो, ये नहीं कि बिल्कुल नहीं डेकोर करनी, पर अपने गुरु के लिए कीजिए. गुरु जी इंप्रेस नहीं होते इतनी इलाबोरेट एंड ऑपुलेंट डेकोर से. गुरु जी को क्या चाहिए हमसे? सिर्फ हमारा भाव अच्छा होना चाहिए. मन होए चंगा ते नल के पानी भी गुरु जी कहते सी. और वो गुरु जी को भाव ये होना चाहिए कि गुरु जी आप आइए और सब संगत को ब्लेस करके जाइए, पूरी दुनिया को ब्लेस करो गुरुजी। तो इसलिए बहुत जरूरी है कि हम समझे कि हम किस लिए सत्संग कर रहे हैं। संगत को दिखाने के लिए कि हमारे पास इतना हम कर सकते हैं, इतनी ज्यादा इलाबरेट डेकोर, जैसे कोई शादी हो रही है, कि हम गुरुजी को बुला रहे हैं ट्रूली फ्रॉम द हार्ट, कि हम गुरुजी आप आ रहे हो, और हम ऑफ कोर्स फ्लावर्स रखो, सुंदर बनाओ, पर यू डोंट हैव टू स्पेंड enormous amounts of money। वो पैसा गुरुजी ज्यादा खुश होंगे अगर आप उसको दान करोगे, और स्पेशली अन्नदान करोगे तो। गुरुजी टाइम एंड अगेन would state, मैं अपने भक्त दे भाव देखना, I observe my devotees' intentions, innate good nature alone is the sufficient ground for the Lord's benediction। When good actions follow the good intentions, that paves the way for a higher ground। The sun spreads its rays on all the lotuses impartially, but all the flowers do not bloom simultaneously. They do in accordance with their innate nature। I love this line that Guruji had inspired me to write, कि पानी और सनरेज तो सब जगह गुरुजी दे रहे हैं, सारे भक्तों को दे रहे हैं, लेकिन हमारी कैपेसिटी कितनी है समझने के लिए, रिसीव करने के लिए, वो अपने पे है। तो intentions and our intentions are clear, we will always find him near। Self-reflection, mindfulness, and commitment to act with integrity ensures staying on course। Feel him in your heart, and you will never be without him। You will never feel alone and lonely enough to resort to digital pacifiers and to live a fake life। Be genuine, be authentic, be sincere, and be yourself। Thank you। How are we doing, everyone? Today we can chat. We have the liberty.
We're doing great, Auntie.
Okay. So I'm going to conclude with the last chapter, and then actually, if there's a question and answer, then we can go ahead. Is that okay? So, chapter 17, we are talking about COVID-19 now. It was towards the end of March 21, and I was still in India, remaining rooted owing to visa issues. The Delta variant was creeping in. Anishka returned to Dubai, and Sonakshi was returning to Dubai the same weekend as I was leaving for Kashmir with a few friends. Soaking in the vistas at Lalit Hotel, with enchanting sights encompassing it, brimmed my heart with gratefulness. Walking in the gardens whilst inhaling the fresh, crisp air is a luxury I long for on leaving behind Delhi's toxic air. I maximize my walks wherever I travel, as I find walking in Delhi air more of a detriment than a benefit. After Lalit, we spent 3 stupendously sumptuous nights at the Khyber Hotel, which by my estimation exceeds any hotel outside of India, with its captivating surroundings of the snow-capped Himalayas. We were thrilled to have been drenched by the snowfall one afternoon while standing out on the patio. It was a childlike moment where we literally tasted snow while catching it in the palm of our hands. I closed my eyes gently, with the face turning upwards, and silently letting out a prayer of resounding thanks to Guruji for such delicious experiences, whereby its flavor lingers till date. On the flight, my friend Charu, sitting beside me, voiced her concern about her scratchy throat while sharing peanuts from the same plate with me. I usually don't even eat peanuts due to my intolerance, but I needlessly and mindlessly indulged with Charu. On arrival, I had lunch with Varsha, my neighbor, and now a very devout Sangat. She and I shared a meal together before heading back to my apartment. The following afternoon, I had lunch with my dear friend Seema, and we shared a dessert from the same plate. I was spreading the virus without realizing that I'm carrying the virus. I was totally oblivious to it, and I felt totally hale and hearty. Charu rang that evening to confirm she tested COVID positive and advised me to undergo a test too. She had, by this time, all the ghastly symptoms and felt deeply unwell. That night, I developed symptoms too: fever, body ache, and lack of taste. Varsha too had tested positive and was down with fever. Seema was not spared from it either, and hers was dreadfully agonizing, where she even drew out her will. Delhi was swiftly under lockdown, and the Delta variant was devastating lives as it was ravaging the entire city. By day 2, I had labored breathing, and I cried out to Guruji Sarup on my bedroom wall. I looked at him with intense curiosity. Is this it for me, Guruji? I asked him with a penetrating gaze. If it isn't, then please heal me, was my plea, as the labored breathing was sinking me. Although there was a very small window from which I could have Langar Prasad from Guruji's mandir, I asked for it telepathically. Up until now, Guruji's combined remedy of Langar Prasad, Shabad Gurbani, and the service of sharing his grace with Sangat across the globe had always kept me afloat. And which it does with each one of us. जब हम लंगर प्रसाद भी खाते हैं उस भाव से कि ये मेरी दवाई है, this is my medicine, then it works like medicine. अगर हम कहते हैं ये खाना है, मुझे भूख लगी है, तो ये खाना आ रहा है मेरे आगे, तो वो कैलोरीज होती हैं और खाने की तरह ही लगता है. My every illness from skin cancer to asthma, eczema, breast cancer, autoimmune disease, and more have been either abated or cured with his remedies. I once again had my back against the wall. I have thus weathered many storms with the practical remedies to cure the maladies of Kali Yuga. I have derived boundless strength and courage to endure my karmic journey and draw confidence from his presence. If it weren't for him, I would be out like a light. There is no doubt about it. I would be not sitting before you and writing books and reading books had I not been connected to Guruji. There's no doubt. So many storms one cannot endure or overcome or weather if they don't have the strength of faith. Hence, incorrigible strength, confidence, and courage are essential attributes bestowed upon us by Guruji to enable us to overcome every affliction. Sitting in his aura has given me the wisdom to take responsibility on my emotions too. There were chapters in my life when I felt largely overlooked and undervalued. The sad emotions of neglect and rejection in my marriage that I fed turned into cancer that ate into me. Life back then was fraught with challenges, and my situation has squeezed out as much joy out of life as was possible. And I failed to identify myself with anyone or anything in my life. It was only after coming in his holy fold that I identified myself with him. What better identity to gain than be Guruji's Sangat? The colossal mistakes I had made in compromising my self-respect and my self-neglect were realized, and I was never going to repeat those mistakes. I never took care of myself. I neglected my health, my exercise, my diet, only to please those around me. To recognize one's own frailties and to make amends is a valuable lesson to learn. I have learned to lean into his love more increasingly, particularly on realizing his power over my life. It is clear-cut and comforting to know that his presence has disarmed anyone from ever dimming my light. To be a shimmering speck of his infinite light is my soul's deepest yearning. We are each part of that light, the speck of a larger light, and we need to emerge from the shadows to realize it, to embrace it, be part of it, and to eventually merge into it. Varsha's symptoms were severe, except she was a touch milder than I was, and her insatiable zest for life made her bounce back in a relatively brief time. In the midst of the oxygen crisis, she rapidly arranged a cylinder and every other contraption required to sustain me. She soldiered on while I was battling for breath. I was bedridden with not an ounce of energy. Guruji was gracious as he healed us swiftly, and she consequently nursed me day and night after ensuring that I was consuming foods that conserved my energy. I checked on Seema, who had been incapacitated by the virus and was in fact drawing out a will. Fortunately, after a few weeks, she bounced back to being her vibrant and vivacious self. Charu was in an appalling state, as was her father, who also contracted it from her and was suffering hopelessly. Their recovery took much longer, like mine. It was a heart-wrenching time, and listening to the news gave me further palpitations, as the doom and gloom was only intensifying. Meanwhile, meanwhile, Langar Prasad was sent to Varsha and I within days. I was on the mend, and within weeks, running into months, I regained my strength. The Delta variant had depleted my energy, leaving my system disproportionately weak and listless. I felt enfeebled physically and emotionally. A lingering heavy-heartedness prevailed on opening Facebook daily, only to read RIPs for people lost to the gruesome condition. It was heartbreaking to observe the inferno of dead bodies lost to COVID-19. I then stopped listening to the news and began focusing on rebuilding my physical and mental health. As Guruji has said to me, "Tu zyada news na sunya kar, tenu asar hunda hai." Don't listen too much to the news, as it affects you. Vibration girti hai. Even today, I listen to it for 10 to 15 minutes every day to educate myself on current affairs, and I'm selective on the news channel. When we listen extensively and repeatedly to negative news, it most definitely lowers our frequency. Instead of endless news cycles, I sit now with my discomfort and let it pass. Sanjeev, my youngest brother, who I'm extremely close to, we missed the traditional Indian wedding celebration of my eldest brother Rajan's son Rohil in London due to the travel restrictions. Since I was confined to my home, I engaged myself in making sketches of Guruji in calligraphy whilst a melodic Gurbani played in the background. I made calligraphic Ganeshjis, Guruji, and Oms, and art has always been my meditation, and its therapeutic effects have centered me in every crisis I have encountered. The pen is mightier than the sword, and I have won many battles with this incredible art. In addition, I began recording voice notes to inspire on inspiring thoughts that enabled listeners across the globe feel connected. Guruji, it became food for the soul, thanks to Shilpi. Guruji has taught each one of us to reach out. And in this way, we each combated the loneliness by sharing a sense of meaning with other Sangat, building value out of pain in ways that transforms that pain to make positive is a learning most of us have adopted. So pain inevitably switches to power when we use the right tools. Mental health was generally exasperated, but the sharing of satsangs on various platforms fired up positive emotions. It raised people's confidence whilst keeping them motivated. Common shared humanity brought out compassion and love. Sangat united and engaged with others in the spirit of giving, even if it was a listening ear. Each one of us was seeking the voice of calm and consolation during these unprecedented times, and some found it within. Their spiritual journey elevated to another level. On realizing that situation was much larger than theirs, our qualifications and our social status, and not knowing where the invisible enemy was coming from, kept many imprisoned. It was realized that the virus is indiscriminately penetrating people, rich or poor, every culture, costume. It was no longer about I, me, myself, as the suffering of the world was our own individual suffering. Some took this as a time to set free from the fear that was exasperated everywhere. Conversations will continue about those times as each have their unique understanding of the lockdown and each have their own learning of the lockdown and the profound effects it had on our lives. Some of us were compelled to ask the big questions during the acute phase and wondered if a new norm would be recalibrated. In a private moment with myself, I replayed Guruji's words in my head. पाठ करो, बड़ा हमारा टाइम आएगा और सिर्फ नाम ही काम आएगा. Pray, he said. Bad times are imminent and only God's name will salvage us. तू कल्ले बैठ के मैनू याद करेंगे एक दिन. एक घंटा कल्ले बैठ के जरूर याद किया कर. I have never been that person that expends energy on fleeting pleasures. I certainly do not marginalize or stigmatize people whose only purpose in life is to lunch every day. But I do have a marked respect and admiration for those who have made something of their lives by working hard. Achieving excellence requires sacrifice, and I deeply adore people who are on that journey. Destiny is also an art. I would like to add that before meeting Guruji, sorry, one second. I would like to add that before meeting Guruji, there was a gaping emptiness, a staring vacuum in my life. There was something missing, maybe a deeper issue, deeper value issue. Who am I and what am I here to do? But after meeting him, my art found the purpose of making calligraphic sketches. My words turned into books that heal, and my voice turned into sharing of satsangs that inspire. He gave me a sense of direction as he steered my talents to be used on a higher road. Allow him to fan the flames of your potential. Purpose is essential to our existence as it guides our life decisions, and while it shapes goals, it offers a sense of meaning and direction. Personally, it focuses my energy, motivates me, and makes my life worthwhile, knowing I try to live in alignment with his will. He created us out of love and rendered us the purpose of sharing love and to love him back and to love his Sangat, to love mankind. Our God, Jai Guruji. I will certainly cease to read because I know that one, press for time. Secondly, hopefully somebody or another has a question to ask. But is it okay if you give me a minute? I will run, add some warm water to this and come back. Is that okay?
Yes, Auntie, please take your time.
Meanwhile, you can